travelers, and welcome back to another exciting adventure where today we're going to do something a little bit different. As you know, we drive everywhere that we go, so I thought it was only fitting that we stop off in one of the original roadside stop-offs, Chimney Rock. Why not? Sounded like a good idea, right? Does that sound familiar to you, Chimney Rock? I think it does. I know why. The Oregon Trail. That's right, we all played the Oregon Trail whenever we were growing up on those old PCs, but now I get to come here and see it in real life. So buckle up, guys. It's gonna be an interesting one. We came in, we paid at this little desk right here, and although we do have a park pass, that doesn't get us free admission to this particular monument, but it does give you a hefty little discount. So we only paid $2 today. But the museum is divided up into two separate galleries. One focuses on the timeline itself, and then the other one, and that's one that I'm really intrigued about because it is right next to the viewpoint of Chimney Rock itself. There's also a 15-minute video that plays, and they give you a heads up like a couple minutes before it starts. I just watched it. It was really good. So you have to come and check it out. It tells the history of why this place is so important. It really is. It served a huge part of history. So let's look around. I always am up for a good interactive area, and I think that it's really fun that they have a little tic-tac-toe here that you can play when you're here, but they also have things that you can get a little hands-on with, so you can pet the pelt and determine what it is exactly. That's kind of fun for all ages. Now back to this game just a little bit. If you ever played Oregon Trail, you know that you had a few things to choose right off the bat. First of all, you chose what kind of occupation that you had. If you chose to be a banker, you had more money. If you chose to be a farmer, you had less, but you had more skills for practical knowledge. So it was all about weighing out your consequences based on your actions at a very young age. Now, you also had to create your own train. So you had to get your oxen to go with your wagon, you had to put your food in there, you had to get all of the supplies that you were going to need for this really long journey on the Oregon Trail. So those were all things that you would have to determine. And then last but not least, you had to pick who was coming with you. So you would name the characters, and usually you would name them after your friends or your family. And then later in the game, as you progressed and you went through all these trials and tribulations, guess what? Some of your friends and family, they didn't make it. There was no worse feeling than knowing that you had added like your brother or your sister or your grandma, and then they died of cholera along the way. Like, that was terrible. But unfortunately, that was the reality of the Oregon Trail. And coming through here, we get to learn a little bit more about why that was a reality. And that brings it all home and takes something that was just this little candid game and makes it real, because it was real. Now this area right here is truly the Oregon Trail. This brings it all home. So you can load your wagon how you would based on what you would take with you. And there's a suggestion list of what typically people would try to have. Over here are all the things we can choose from. So basically we're gonna load it down. Let's see, obviously we're going to need something to cook with. So this would go into the box, and then nope, we don't have to have whiskey, but we do need plates. can see here, I didn't even load all of the stuff that was supposed to go in there. It was pretty full, but on average, they would have 600 pounds of flour, 120 pounds of hardtack, 400 pounds of bacon. Sounds like a bacon lover's dream. But keep in mind, they had to go for months and months and months sometimes in all sorts of conditions and feed the entire family. Overall, with that and all these other things, they averaged weighing around 1955, but they could hold up to 2,500 pounds. That's insane. But can you imagine now, if you're fully loaded, 2,500 pounds, and then your wagon wheel breaks? Because remember on the game, that happened. Okay, moving over here, we have a few more things that were supplies. Look at this. These are the shoes that the oxen would wear. I've never understood how this doesn't hurt, because I feel like whenever I just barely poke my own nail, it hurts, and this is kind of like their nail. But look, you can see it on the bottom there in the mirror. They also had these, which were used for their boots. This was used to take the heels off of boots so they could put new ones on. That's pretty cool. And this is a tar bucket. That's right, I said tar. It was used to grease the wheels. These are cool. Very cool, guys. Look at this. What an awesome find. Little weird fact about me, I have a lot of porcelain dolls. I don't have them out on display because they kind of freak me out. But one of the ones that I have is super, super old, and it was actually a relative of mine's from like way back. That reminded me so much of that. It was really cool. Warms up my little heart. I can't imagine wearing this every day. Nope, not my style. Now, we often hear all of these horrific tales of the Indians versus the cowboys and how the Indians were so terrible. But it was said that the Indians in this area actually were extremely helpful and friendly. So they actually helped the people coming through to the point of their own demise in this area. This display is a little unsettling because it's not one of those things that we commonly think about who didn't make it. Well, a lot of people didn't make it. There were over 20,000. I said 20,000 people who did not make it and were found to have graves along the trail. Now, some didn't make it because of the weather and the conditions. Some didn't make it because of disease. It's insane to know that 20,000 people, that was just a fraction of the people who were trying to make it on the trail, passed away. So you can only imagine if 20,000 died, how many actually were trying to go. So those facts are just mind blown. What were those lovely diseases? Let's find out a little bit more, because that just makes me want to sanitize my hands a lot. So these 3 containers have the Platte River water in them, each of which are very significant. Why, you ask? Well, because the Platte River was one of the major areas that they crossed through multiple times and also ran the trail right alongside. So underneath each one of these, let's find out what was in the water. Cholera! Yay! Number 1 killer is an infection of the intestines spread through contaminated food or water. Awesome. The only available treatment is now opium. Good to know. Next up on our list, typhoid. Wow, not knowing to boil water first. This is why we have water treatment now, and this is why if you have contaminated water in a town, they tell you to boil your water. Great. And last but not least, dysentery. Like cholera, dysentery spread from contaminated water and food. Good times. Let's close that up. So when playing the Oregon Trail now, we have a little bit better knowledge as to why our friends and family might have died along the way. Yeah, cholera, typhoid, dysentery. Now we know why. And it's really, really creepy. Okay, we are going to move into the second section of the museum now, where we have a lot of different things, and I did pass something that totally had a snake on it, so fast walked right on out of that one. But here we go, and let's look at what they have here for us to check out. I see right off the bat there is a snake skin that we will not be touching, but it is right next to this. And I like little furry things. I am 200 to 300 years old. Please pick me up to see how heavy I am. Don't mind if I do. It's not terrible. Kind of interesting. Now, on our adventures, we have seen some amazing things, and we have gone all over the place. But rewind just a little bit. Rewind to a time before we had a car and were able to just see things just whenever we wanted to. It wasn't something that was super common to find really interesting landmarks like Chimney Rock. So it's not surprising that as people passed through, Chimney Rock was of such interest to them because it was so unique. It wasn't like the jagged mountains that they had seen maybe over by the Smokies, and it wasn't like anything that they were coming through in the Nebraska area that was otherwise flat or just low-lying hills. It stood up. It was different. And that's why they used it as a landmark. So it was really interesting to see in the video earlier and then throughout the entire museum all of the different recaps from several people who wrote letters, who journaled, who drew things, and all of them have this singular focus of Chimney Rock and how unique it really was. Not sure if you saw the Scotts Bluff episode, but if you did, you probably saw that some people had carved their name into the actual monument itself, which is a big, big no-no. But here they encourage you to, instead of going outside and carving on the natural stones, to take these and carve on them. I think this is a great alternative. Another way to be creative and express yourself is this station, where they encourage you to draw your version of what Chimney Rock means to you and what it looks like. Now this is really unique, and I haven't seen this anywhere else. You can actually take a picture through the scope. They just ask that you don't touch the scope and reposition it. So I think I'm going to try to do a video through the scope so we can see exactly what the scope is seeing, and this could be really epic. Something really cool that you can see, and it's so hard to video through this little scope, is actually the golden eagle, which nests on Chimney Rock, and that's what it's pointed toward. So it is their permanent residence, and they're there 24/7, 7 days a week, 365, and it's so, so neat to see. I'm just sitting here just wanting to look at it again and again because they're so pretty. Anyway, now that we have looked at the amazing museum telling us all the history, all of the information that we need, it is time for us to go out and look at it up close and personal. Well, as close as you can get. You can't get super close. When you come outside, there is an observation area and it is beautiful. You can see everything so vividly. Right in front of us is where the Chimney Rock is. It has had many names, but none have surpassed its final name, Chimney Rock. Now, can you imagine traveling along in a wagon like this, and you've been going for miles and miles and miles, and finally you get to this, and you know that you're a third of the way complete on your adventure. Just a third. I mean, it is a pretty epic sight though. If I saw that jutting out of the nothingness, I would certainly be excited. I mean, I get excited whenever I'm going through the flat nothingness and then all of a sudden I start seeing hills. So I can just imagine whenever a landmark, an actual landmark pops up. That would be like going to one of our national parks now. You drive and drive and drive and then suddenly, finally, you are there. Yeah, it's a sense of relief, it's a sense of reward, and it's a sense of beauty. No little creepy crawlers. No little creepy crawlers. Last but not least, like all places that we stop, I check out the visitor center. Have to do that. Have to see if there's anything that just jumps out and says buy me. Sometimes there are, and then sometimes there are steak toys. Okay guys, that's it for Chimney Rock. If you've enjoyed today's episode, please make sure that you subscribe, hit the bell for notifications for future uploads. We have a lot of Nebraska to still go through, so you're gonna wanna see this. If you didn't see my last video, make sure that you check out the link below, and that'll take you on all of our Nebraska adventures. Bye guys, have a good one.